The only people who could be trusted were our blood relations. But sometimes they would cheat on us as well, and that hurt the most of all. When we were in this state, we felt helpless because we could take action against a stranger if we had any anger towards them, but what should we do towards our blood relatives? The easiest way to keep up with all the cheating stories and heart-wrenching stories is to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. Suppose the name of my soon-to-be ex-wife was Julia and the name of my soon-to-be ex-husband was Stephen. We've been married for 2 years and a few months now. It was only 2 days ago that everything came to light. In the end, I took the action which I do not regret. In fact, I'm very happy with the decision I made. However, I still felt a bit broken at the end of all this. During one of my morning runs, I met Julia in a park where I usually go for a jog in the mornings. She used to come there a lot, and I have noticed her many times in the past. During a jog, she got a sudden pain in her knee and she had to stop. Despite my efforts to help her, no one came to help her there. So I managed to get her to a nearby hospital where she could be treated. It was a pleasure to help her and she thanked me for it. That wasn't a big deal for me, so I told her not to worry. In the future, she should be more careful and take some time out to rest. It was from here that we began our friendship. It was after a few days that she returned to me in a park and she again thanked me for my help, and we had a casual conversation where she told me that she was a professional interior designer. The conversation we had was great, and I found her to be a bit different from the other girls that I have met before. There was a very unique vision that she had. Perhaps that was the biggest reason I fell in love with her, but it could also be something else. I started to feel attracted to her when I started getting to know her better. After a few weeks of getting to know each other, we became good friends. She told me once that there is a party happening in one of her friends' house, so she invited me to join her for the party. Unfortunately, I was not able to join her because I was a security officer in a company and my job was mostly night work. As a result, I declined with a heavy heart, knowing it was a big miss on my part. The nature of my job, however, was a crucial one, so I only had time to meet her at noon or during the day when she was on job. After we went shopping, I realized that it has been 3 months since we started being friends, and in fact I fell in love with her, but I never told her about it until now. As it turned out, I was a bit shy and also thought it could be possible that she did not like me, so I did not open up any discussions about it. When it got to the New Year party, I decided to tell her what had happened because it had been irritating me and I thought she should know what would happen. Let's see how it plays out. On the night of the New Year party, I decided to reveal my heart to her. As a matter of fact, she also told me that she had something in her heart for me as well. Then we began our journey into the world of love. I used to live with my younger brother Mike, who was 22 years old at the time. I am a person from a small village, so I came to Georgia for higher education 9 years ago, and after a couple of years I got settled here in the state. In other words, now it was the time for him to study for his high school diploma. In the beginning, he was a bit shy, but with the passage of time, I was also surprised by his abilities. In addition to getting good grades, he also started going to the gym on a regular basis. By the way, he was a gym freak, by the way. There has been a significant improvement in his personality over the past few years. Since he moved in with me 4 years ago, he has been living with me. Please accept my apologies for the background knowledge, but I thought it might be helpful for you. The two of us decided to get married after dating for an entire year. The problem is that she complains me about my younger brother and wants me to be only one living with her. She would like to spend time with me. Maybe she was afraid of Mike's nature for some reason. My advice to her was that she meet him for a single time. Maybe she would be more comfortable with him. It is therefore my intention to get Julia home and introduce her to my brother one day, so that I can introduce Julia to him. At first they did not have much understanding of each other, but after a few meetings, they got comfortable with each other, and then Julia also agreed to live in the same house with him after they become comfortable with each other. My only concern was to wait for this issue to be resolved so that we would be able to get married after it was resolved. Finally, after 2 years of dating, we were able to get married. In the new sane house, we all lived happily and in a good environment. Although I was afraid that there might be any conflict between my brothers, I was surprised to find that they were very frank with each other, even though they were so close. There used to be a lot of time spent between two of them. In addition to watching Netflix and having lunch, they also liked to do things as well. I think the biggest reason, or you could say the biggest mistake I made, was the fact that I worked at night. In spite of the fact that she always compliments him on his good physique, I was just taking it lightly because I thought they were treating each other like in-laws. What was going on behind me was completely unknown to me. Additionally, I also had a complete trust in them until I found out the truth. Eventually, it got to be Sunday and I was on my way back home from the duty. It was just after Julia and Mike they had finished working in the garden that I went into the home. There was Julia watering the flowers in the garden. As I looked out the window, I noticed that Mike was sitting in the corner, but he was taking pictures of Julia whenever she bent to water the flowers, whenever she bent to water them. Initially, I thought it might be because he wasn't taking pictures, but I observed him for 10 minutes and his actions were doubtful. It was then that I called him and told him to give me his phone. In no time at all, he gave me his phone and I scrolled through it, but there was no picture on it. First, I wanted to see with my own eyes what he was doing, and then I wanted to ask him what he was doing and punish him for his actions. However, I did not find anything, so I was unable to say anything about it. I think for a while how it is possible that he took pictures, but were the pictures gone? Anyhow, I ignored this act this time. After that, I went into his room one day to see if I could find the charger since mine wasn't working anymore. It was his cupboard that I found the panty as well as the bras of Julia. There was something very strange about it. In a flash, I went to him and asked him why Julia's undergarments are in his cupboard, and he told me that they were from her. Initially, he was shocked, but then he said he took the clothes that he was washing the night before, so perhaps he got these things along with my own clothes in his cupboard by accident last night. There were a lot of red flags for me in all those situations, but I don't know if I was waiting for something or if I did not find anything solid to back up my suspicions. In any case, I once got a fever and had a few days off work because of it. As I had a severe illness, I was unable to work. In order to recover from this, I was confined to my bed for the whole day. At night, I took some medications and fell asleep as soon as I took them. Due to the fact that I have taken antibiotics, I fell into a deep sleep when I woke up in the morning. I was feeling good and my temperature had also returned to normal. I was served breakfast by Julia along with Mike. So after having breakfast, it was time for Julie and Mike to go to work. When I went to the garage to get my truck out at 11 o'clock that afternoon, I found the underwear of Julia in there. I found it to be a really strange experience. The reason why she wore this panty is that yesterday, as usual, she put her clothes on in front of me, then I discovered her panty right here on the floor. Her undergarments are usually changed after 2 days, as this is what she usually does. In that case, why is it here if she changed it? As a result of this, my brain has fallen into a river of various thoughts. It was then that I realized that we had cameras installed throughout the entire house. Moreover, there was a camera installed near the gate of the garage, so I rushed to check the recordings, and I was able to see that the last night's full recording had been found near 2 o'clock. Mike and Julia went to the garage together. Does that mean anything to you? There was no doubt in my mind as to what the mean was. It was revealed that Julia had been cheating on me with my younger brother. That was something I never thought about or had any clue about. And as I watched this, earth slipped under my feet. I felt sick to my stomach. The real pain would be if she would cheat on me with someone else, but she had with my younger brother in spite of cheating on me with someone else. As if my brain was going to explode, I felt like I was going to lose consciousness. It took me about 2 hours to think about anything. It was as if my heart and brain were frozen and I could not believe what I was seeing. Whatever the case may be, the more painful was my brother's sin. Also, it was very clear to me that they had been cheating on me for a long time and had been doing it continuously. It is evident that the panty found in Mike's cupboard was not an accident. There was a clear indication that they had committed a criminal act. Eventually, after a few hours of thinking, I came to the conclusion that I need to stop both of them as soon as possible and do the right thing. My feelings were too deep to explain. I could not even realize what was going on in my mind. Then I waited for them to come over to house till night. It was late at night when they came over to house. Then I told them to stay there for a while so that I could show them something that I wanted to show to both of them. To begin with, I put the undergarments of Julia on a table that I found in the garage, and then I asked Julia that I believe it is your right. She said yes. I told her that you know where I found it. She said I did not know where it was found. There was a look of fear on their faces as I watched them. Then I asked Mike if he could tell me where I had found it. He said that he had no idea. There was a lot of sweat coming out of his face and he was quiet. Within a couple of minutes of silence, I said that I was going to tell you where I found this. On my laptop, I opened the video recording in which they were going in the garage and I showed it to them. As a result of showing them and asking them, I believe now both of you have a good idea of what I am talking about. A few moments later, Julia started telling the so-called crap stuff that it is not what it appears to be on the surface. She said Mike was the one who forced me to do this and it was all his fault. Mike was quiet up until now, but after Julia's allegation, he became more vocal. As soon as he heard that, he began telling me. He said 6 months ago she began attracting my attention and seducing me. When this happened, Mike cried and begged me to forgive him for what happened. Julia was in the middle of my eye, and the only thing I could do was tell her to get out of the eye suddenly, or else she would be in danger. When she refused to leave, I grabbed the arm of Julia and threw her out of the house. The next day, I called my parents and asked them to come over here. As soon as they arrived, I told them everything that Mike had done and what he had said. As soon as I told them that he had to leave my house, they got him out of there. Otherwise, he will suffer harm as a result of my actions. During the time he was leaving with his parents for the departure, he apologized to me, but it was of no use. Consequently, I am no longer in a relationship with him and I have no plans to do so in the future. It is now that I am alone and in pain as a result of their actions. I was unable to forget what they both did to me in the past. I still remember the many times he has done this to me. Due to the fact that he is my brother, I'm sure that he hasn't hesitated for a second before committing such a sin. Don't you think? In other words, if he was loyal to me, he would have told me, but he did not do so.